Hi, everyone. My name is Rabbi Marley Wiener. I'm the director of the Asbell Center for Jewish Life. Welcome to the Office of Equity and Inclusivity's presentation on diversity and equity on campus.
Hello, everyone. I'm Todd Nordgren, and I'm the director of the Office of Lesbian, Gay, Transgender, Queer, and Questioning Students here at Dickinson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christian Perry. I am the Assistant Director of the Popelshaw Center for Race and Ethnicity.
Hi, my name is Vincent Stevens, and I'm the Director of the Popelshaw Center for Race and Ethnicity.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Bickford, and I'm the Director of the Women's and Gender Resource Center here at Dickinson. So you can see here all of the offices are listed, and you've just heard us introduce ourselves. We wanted to share the learning objectives with you for our time together today, so you'll know what we hope that you get out of this presentation. We hope to develop awareness of different forms of diversity in our community. We hope to learn about the different relationships to power, access, and inclusion experienced in a diverse community. And we hope to understand diversity, equity, and inclusion as central parts of your education and co-curricular experiences here at Dickinson.
Great. Welcome, class of 2024. One way that we think about diversity is by asking who's represented in a space, who's in the room, if you will. Since you're beginning your college experience in a remote environment, we want to give you an idea of who is in your class so you can understand the diverse community that you'll be joining. Here you can see some ways of understanding the makeup of your incoming class. This reflects your own racial and ethnic self-identification, and you can see that 66% of the incoming class are white Americans, 24% students of color, 9% are international students, and we don't have racial and ethnic information for 1.4% of students. We can break this down, though, to be more specific and get more specific information, which can help you begin to think expansively about your own identity and the identities of others. So not all students of color have the same experience or background, and it's important to recognize this. So as we can see in the second chart, the 24% of students of color in your incoming class include groups of Hispanic or Latinx students, African American and Black students, Asian American students, Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander students, and multiracial or multi-ethnic students. When thinking about diversity and representation, we think of other categories of identity that shape people's lives too, such as gender. Here we can see that the demographic information collected from you indicates that 63% of incoming students identify as women, while 37% identify as men. This data alone tells us an important story about who you are, more women than men, but it doesn't erase the structural inequalities that exist on a local, national, and global scale. While there are more students among you who identify as women than men, women will still be affected by sexism and misogyny on and off campus. There are other stories that this data does not tell as well. For example, this breakdown erases those students who identify as non-binary, individuals who experience a gender identity that is neither grounded exclusively in identifying as a man or a woman, or is between or beyond those genders. So while these three charts I've just shown you can tell us a lot about your fellow classmates, we want you to reflect on some of the important questions about other ways of thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Next slide, please. With this information in mind, we encourage you to think expansively about diversity. First, you might turn to yourself and ask what parts of your own identity are most important to your experiences, which will include your racial and ethnic background and your gender identity, but many pieces of you beyond that, including sexuality, ability, religion, economic and social class, nationality, and more. You can think about how these parts of your identity do not exist separately, but intersectionally, informing and affecting you as a whole person. When you encounter your classmates, this will be true of them too. Their experiences will be shaped in multiple ways by their mutually informing identities. College is a moment to reflect on these experiences and use them as a basis for growth. As you start this year, think about how your own identity offers opportunities to connect with others like you and build community. Likewise, you can take opportunities to actively learn about the identities of others, treating people with respect and developing the skills, knowledge, and ability to be strong allies that support and build up those who are different from you, while expanding the limits of your understanding and empathy for others. As we work together to fight injustice and inequality, celebrating difference is important, but building connections and communities is the next step. And we ask you to reflect on these questions as you start your time here at Dickinson and throughout the coming years. Thank you.
Great. So once again, Vincent Stevens from the Popel Shaw Center, and I'm excited to build from some of the questions and themes that Todd raised. So I want to shift our attention and focus on national and global concerns, and think about the ways they might show up at Dickinson. So first, let's think about the global pandemic. Throughout the summer, the most consistent COVID-related topic the US media has covered is its disproportionate impact on certain populations, as you can see from some of the headlines. Notably, African Americans, Latinx people, and indigenous people in the United States and North America have experienced the greatest share of negative health effects. These impacts relate to their roles as essential workers, longstanding economic inequities, as well as more limited access to healthcare in general. We can also see similar patterns of disproportionate impacts that have impacted communities around the world. So in building on this information, I urge you to consider the following. Like, engaging with the diversity of campus also means considering how race, socioeconomic status, geography, and nationality informs the experiences of the campus community. So I think that this is a really unique opportunity to just sort of reflect on how different aspects of identity and experience overlap. Second, after years of organizing efforts, the Black Lives Matter movement, which was founded in 2012, has become even more mainstream. Many people have wondered why it has gained content in this specific moment. And I would say that there are many different explanations. I think once again, as Todd mentioned, it's important to recognize that we all enter into this conversation with different experiences and identities. For many people, racial discrimination in explicit and implicit forms is really fairly common rather than exceptional. But for others who are on this conversation, this moment has actually been an awakening that sort of illuminated things that may have been a little bit more hidden. I would say more than anything, this movement, which is both multicultural and global, offers us a unique opportunity to consider how our peers and classmates may be differently impacted by racism, xenophobia, and other such forms of discrimination. So Dickinson students have a very long tradition of responding to issues of national and global concern and really demanding that there is campus action. If you look through our archives, for example, you'll see lots of things that look at the anti-war movement of the 60s. More recently, these kinds of activism have resulted in reforms to the college's sexual assault policies and procedures, including mandatory training related to sexual assault awareness, and ongoing cultural education related to creating a more inclusive campus, just to cite two examples. So more than anything, we want you to understand that you, as a student at Dickinson, can make a difference in creating a welcoming and inclusive environment for all.
Thank you, Vincent. And that segues very nicely into campus engagement. What opportunities can you pursue to really engage with these issues, questions on campus, either to find a space that speaks to what you need or to learn more? And the answer is quite a bit. There's academic departments you can explore, clubs and organizations, leadership development opportunities, and a variety of campus offices. Next slide. First, and perhaps most obvious, we're at college, academic departments. There are many different departments that address issues of equity and inclusivity, and you should feel free to take classes there. Note, one of the beauties of a liberal arts education is that you do not need to major in these subjects to take a class or two. Some examples that you might want to check out include American Studies, African American Studies, Latin American, Latino, and Caribbean Studies, Religious Studies, Sociology, and Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies. In addition, there are many different clubs and organizations that address issues of equity and inclusivity and the diversity of college life. And once again, you do not need to be part of one of these groups necessarily to come and check out a club meeting or to join in. You just kind of have to show up with an open mind and a willing spirit. And you can explore many of these clubs through the Engaged website. Some examples of these clubs might include the Asian and Asian American Collective, the Black Student Union, the Center for Civic Learning and Action, the Dickinson Christian Fellowship, Hillel, which is the Jewish group on campus, Latin American and Caribbean Club, Muslim Educational and Cultural Association, or MECA, the Queer Student Union, and WIND, We Introduce Nations at Dickinson.
Hello, everyone. This is Christian Perry. Another really big thing at Dickinson is being able to give our students leadership opportunities. We are really looking to develop leaders not only for this country but for the world. So if you want to develop or strengthen your leadership skills, here are some opportunities that we have available. The Emerging Leaders Retreat, sophomore/junior leadership retreat. We have the Inclusive Student Leadership Training Retreat, Model United Nations, National Society of Leadership and Success, and the Student Senate. Next slide. And just some of the campus offices, we have the Asbel Center for Jewish Life, Center for Global Study and Engagement, Office of LGBTQ Services, the Popelshaw Center for Race and Ethnicity, the Trout Gallery, and the Women's and Gender Resource Center.
Thank you so much for your time with us, and please feel free to reach out. The contact information is on that final slide, and all of our offices have social media accounts that you can check out as well. Welcome to Dickinson, class of 2024.
Have a good one.
Take care, guys.